contributor to high energy bills, cold rooms, and ice dams. Great news, the energy-efficient pros at Snap Construction can fix it all. Stop the heat from leaking out and save. Call 612-333-SNAP or visit snapconstruction.com for your free infrared energy inspection. Install with Snap Construction and qualify for over $750 in rebates and incentives. State and city programs are now offering 0% financing for qualifying insulation upgrades. So call Snap Construction for your free insulation energy consultation and start saving on your energy bills. Call 612-333-SNAP. That's 612-333-SNAP. Or visit snapconstruction.com. Snap Construction is arguably the most well-reviewed insulation and exterior contractor in the metro area.
With your AM 950 weather, this is Dan Riva. Today, blessedly snow, high 9 degrees, wind chill minus 17. Tonight, blessedly cloudy, low minus 8 degrees, wind chill minus 28. Tomorrow, sun and cold, high minus 4 degrees. Nightingale, your cozy neighborhood destination, serves delicious food and a wide drink and cocktail selection. Includes American classics like the famous Nightingale Burger at nightingalempls.com.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
Welcome to Living Healthy and Aging Well, where my name is Ken Hagelin, and we are broadcasting from the AM 950 radio station that overlooks Bryant Lake Regional Park, located in Eden Prairie, Minnesota. It is another interesting day here in the Twin Cities. Got some snow and some wind, and it's really cold, but I am so grateful to be here with you today, and I hope all of you listening are doing well. We are on the air every Saturday from noon to 1 to talk about your health and your life. We cover a wide range of topics to help you and your loved ones improve and enjoy your quality of life. I want to thank all of you that leave us messages on our radio show phone line. We really appreciate hearing from you, and we welcome your comments, questions, and topics for future shows. Also, if you are interested in being a guest on our radio show, please call or text us at 612-999-3426. You can also reach us on our website at livinghealthyradio.com. There you can find information about upcoming guests as well as listen to our previous shows. And we look forward to hearing from you. We are adding new listeners to the show each week, and we are so grateful for that, not only here in the Twin Cities of Minnesota, but also throughout the country. You can find podcasts for all of our radio shows on the AM 950 radio website. And we can also be found on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, and many other podcasts and streaming services. You can also watch our broadcast live on the radio station's Facebook page at AM 950 Radio. Joining me in a few minutes will be Rachel Schroman. She is an estate planning and elder law attorney and owner of Schroman Law, LLC, located right here in St. Paul, Minnesota. She is here today to talk about several very important topics, including trusts versus wills and the benefits of avoiding probate, and the multiple ways legal advice can help determine the most efficient and cost-effective methods. For more information, of course, you can always visit her at schromanlaw.com or call 651-571-2515. And don't worry, folks, we'll give out that information throughout the show. If you have any questions for us today, there are two ways to reach us. First, by calling the AM 950 radio station, and our friendly show producer, Dan, will get your call on the air. That phone number is 952-946-6205. Once again, 952-946-6205. Or you can directly text us your questions at 612-999-3426. Now, again, don't worry if you miss those numbers. I'll repeat them throughout the show. Also, please do not wait till the show's ended to call or text us with your questions. We often receive many of the same questions after the show has ended. So if you have a question, many others do as well. So please try and contact us during the show. And we look forward to answering your questions today. All right. I want to welcome my guest for today's show. We've had her on before last year, And because we had so many questions that come in after the show is done, and by popular demand, we have her back again. And I'm just really pleased to have Rachel Schroman. She is an estate planning and elder law attorney and owner of Schroman Law LLC, located in St. Paul, Minnesota. Welcome back to the show, Rachel.
Thank you. Thank you for having me back.
All right, now people who are listeners probably know much about you, but there are new listeners every week coming on the show. Would you mind giving us a little bit of a background and what inspired you to start your own law firm?
Well, my background, I went to law school at William Mitchell. While I was there, I was an elder justice scholar, and I was attracted to that area of law coming from a background. I was a social work major before I went into law school. As you know, in my free time, I'm also an end-of-life doula,
right.
and I volunteer in hospice. So just a really big passion to serve in that space. Starting my own firm, well, I was raised in a family of business owners. So kind of raised with that own your own business work ethic and passion and love for growing a business, and being able to practice law in a way that I want to, that I think the community deserves. And that's a little different from what you maybe see at some typical law firms.
Mm-hmm. Well, as you know, I have a special place in my heart for business owners, the trials and tribulations that we all go through.
Yeah.
And no, that's great. I just, some of the best services I've experienced, and it could be from plumbing to legal to whatever, I've come from these small businesses, owner operators.
Yeah.
It's just something special about that. So I really encourage people who have an interest or a need in this topic or other topics to reach out to you, because you are amazing. Trust me, she is amazing. You'll never find someone who is more understanding, more empathetic, more interested in your best interest than you. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Let's see. We got a few minutes here in the first segment. Let's open up the conversation. Trusts versus wills. And it was interesting because when I, after the show, I do get various emails or text messages or voice messages. And the last show we did, we were kind of focused on advanced directives and things like that. And we just, I think, briefly touched on maybe wills or probates. And it was interesting, the number of questions that came about with trust. Well, should I do a trust? What kind of trusts are there?
Yeah.
What's a fiduciary? I think we raised the term fiduciary maybe on the show. And so people are asking, well, what's a fiduciary? And does that relate to wills or trusts? And so there's a lot of misinformation, maybe confusion out there. And again, I had a guest on the show recently who focuses on advanced directives. And he said there's about only 3 to 5% of the population actually have an advanced directive.
Wow.
So he works in healthcare. He actually is a doctor here locally. And he said it just ties their hands. People come in unable to communicate and they have no idea. What are your wishes?
Right.
So it kind of ties into our topic today is to what are your wishes? And then how do you have those wishes be executed then when you're passed or if you're unable to communicate? So take it away. I mean, this is a big area. I know we only have an hour. Well, we have about 30 minutes of talk time, but why don't you let us know? And I know you've dealt with a lot of people, a lot of situations. So let it to wherever you want to start in that big topic.
Yeah. I think with the few minutes we have left in this segment, I'll start really broad and just maybe kind of debunk a couple myths. The first myth that comes up a lot is the question of whether or not a person needs a trust or will isn't necessarily just about estate size or size of assets. So I get phone calls, not too infrequently, where people will call, get me on the phone. They give me a verbal rundown of what they own, what it's worth. And then they say, do I need a trust or a will? Now, okay, if they give me their assets and they're over the Minnesota estate tax amount, which is $3 million, well, I can talk to them about how trust planning can help with estate tax. But there's a lot of other things that go into whether or not a trust is necessary or prudent. Do you have minor children? Do you care about what age or ages assets go outright to the children? Do you have a beneficiary who's disabled, who's receiving or expected to receive SSI or MA? Do you have a really, really strong desire to avoid probate? If so, how are your assets structured? Are there properties in multiple states? Are most of your assets in accounts that can be beneficiaried directly? There's so much that goes into answering that question. And what an attorney's role is, or should be, our kind of philosophy at Schromen Law, is we view our role as the attorneys to meet with a client for a free initial consultation, learn what their goals, the facts of their situation, their concerns, their needs are, and support them in making an educated decision as to what document meets their needs most efficiently and cost effectively. And I'll give some examples of, what that can look like and what the differences are and how those determinations are made. But it varies for different parties. I've had clients with seemingly smaller estates. And when I say that, let's say with life insurance, retirement, their equity in their house, $200,000 or $300,000 total. I've had them set up trusts for very specific reasons. And I've had clients with millions who didn't need a trust, who utilized beneficiary designations, transfer on death deed, etc. So very different estate sizes, but the facts were also very different. And we go through all the options with the client and we make sure they understand the pros and the cons, because there's always multiple options. There's one that's going to really hit all your goals, hit all your needs. There's maybe one in the middle, and then there's always some bad options. There's, well, you could do this, but it'd be a horrible idea. We talk through those.
Yeah.
We let people know what they are. And when you meet with an attorney, that should be your experience meeting with them, even for the first time. And I think people can be reticent to call an attorney because they're nervous they're going to get a surprise bill after the first conversation. They're nervous they're going to get a really hard sales pitch. They're nervous the attorney's going to hide the ball and say, oh, well, this is really what you need to do, and then lay out the most expensive thing they offer. And that's not the case with most of the attorneys I know here in the Twin Cities.
Yeah, we're about just a few seconds away from the break here. I know we want to make sure that people are understanding. It's easy to get deep in this and deep in the weeds.
It is.
Because there's a lot of elements there. And I'd like to make sure we do touch on many things throughout the next 3 segments here. But I think we should maybe consider some of the just definitions of some of these terms.
Yep,
I think people get kind of almost put off, but they don't know what that means.
Yeah.
All right. So when we get back, folks, we're going to start talking about definitions and also go more deeper into trusts versus wills. All right, time for a short break. We'll be right back to continue our conversation with Rachel Schromen, an estate planning and elder law attorney and owner of Schromen Law LLC, located in St. Paul, Minnesota. She's here today to talk about trusts versus wills and the benefits of avoiding probate and the multiple ways legal advice can help determine the most efficient and cost-effective methods. If you have a question, please give us a call, 952-946-6205, or text us at 612-999-3426. I'm Ken Hageland, and you're listening to Living Healthy and Aging Well.
Hi, I'm Mary T, inviting you to experience our integrative Mary T Health and Wellness Center, offering physical, occupational, speech, and lymphedema therapies. Experience our guided imagery, meditation, Tibetan medicine, dry needling, massage services, including cupping and oncology massage. Sign up for our free wellness screenings and learn more at marytwellness.com. All major health insurance providers are accepted. Come for therapy, experience wellness.
Thanks to everyone who's continued to support AM 950. Good news, the AM 950 2024 calendar is ready to go, featuring photos I took around Minnesota and important progressive dates. Members that sign up with a one-time $25 membership will receive a 2024 AM 950 calendar as a thank you. Make a one-time $50 or $100 donation. You'll get the AM 950 calendar and the brand new AM 950 tote bag as a thank you. Go to am950radio.com for all the details on the membership. That's am950radio.com. Thank you so much for supporting AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Now at Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, the new Lopi hybrid wood stoves.
Lopi wood-burning stoves in sizes and designs to fit your heating need and style choice. They not only feature a big, beautiful fire viewing area, they heat so efficiently that they qualify for the 30% tax credit. With this federal tax credit, you can earn $2,000 when you install efficient wood heating.
Lopi advances the technology of wood burning. EPA certified for clean burning, these new hybrids include refined catalytic combustor design. They burn not only cleaner, but longer and more efficiently. Lopi brings heating with wood into the 21st century.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces has been selling wood burning products since 1977. We want to make fire work for you. Let us show you how Lopi wood burning stoves can work in your home.
Get in touch with the folks at Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces. They are the chimney and insulation experts. Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces has over 35 working wood, gas, and electric units on display at the corner of East Franklin and Riverside Avenue in Minneapolis. Temperatures are cooling off and fall migration is underway. Do you know what that means? Eagle viewing season is almost here, and the National Eagle Center is your headquarters for information and experiences. This winter, experience bald and golden eagles in the wild with an unforgettable expert-led field trip. Plan your private eagle habitat tour and learn where the best eagle viewing is with weekly eagle counts. Plus, you can visit the eagles at the center all season long. Plan your visit or experience today online at nationaleaglecenter.org. Seward Co-op is now offering convenient self-serve and prepackaged hot options and salad bars at both the Franklin and Friendship stores. Breakfast items available daily until 11 a.m. and brunch served all day every Sunday. Their weekly lunch and dinner menus highlight cuisines from around the world. They offer vegan, vegetarian, and gluten-free options daily. 95% of the ingredients used are organic from small-scale, local community food producers whenever possible. More at seward.coop.
All right, welcome back, folks. You are listening to Living Healthy and Aging Well, where we talk about helping you and your loved ones improve and enjoy your quality of life. My name is Ken Haglund, and joining me today is Rachel Schroman, an estate planning and elder law attorney and owner of Schroman Law, LLC, located in St. Paul, Minnesota. And she's here today talking about trusts versus wills and the benefits of avoiding probate and the multiple ways that legal advice can help you determine the most efficient and cost-effective methods to do that. If you have a question for us, please give us a call, 952-946-6205, or text us at 612-999-3426. Rachel, how can our listeners contact you if they have questions or want more information?
They can contact us through our website, www.schromanlaw.com, or call our office directly at 651-571-2515.
All right. And Schroman is spelled SCHROMEN law, LAW.com. All right. So last segment, we started talking about, just touched on trusts versus wills.
Mm-hmm.
And we this segment, we wanted to talk about maybe some of the terms, just so people are familiar. Sometimes I think people use terms interchangeably, and they're not really addressing the right things. So why don't you give us maybe your top few
okay,
legal terms and what they really mean?
All right. And the first thing I'll say is with the differing of terms, it gets a little tricky because every state has different laws and they use different terms.
Yeah.
So for example, we call a healthcare directive a healthcare directive. In other states, it's a healthcare proxy, a living will, a power of attorney for healthcare. So it can be easily confused. You hear the term executor.
Yes.
We don't use that in Minnesota. We use personal representative. So if you're confused by the term, sometimes I am too. And that's part of the challenge, right? So what I'll maybe start with is even just laying a foundation of what are we talking about when we say will and trust. So both of those documents are testamentary documents, and testamentary means it plans for after death. So these documents, for the most part, are planning for what happens after we die. A will, last will and testament, that is a document that's going to be kind of a foundation base level document. You can say who you want to be guardians of minor children. You can name where you want your assets to go or who you want them to go to, backups to that person. You can handle who's going to take care of your pets in that document. You can say who the personal representative is going to be. I'll get into personal representative in that in a moment. A trust is very, very similar to the will. There's just a little more we can do with it. It offers some more control. You can structure how assets are given to beneficiaries rather than just given directly. You can have a stronger plan to avoid probate with a trust. We can put tax planning into a trust. It's not, a lot of times I say it's a step up from a will. And when I say step up, I don't mean better. Trusts aren't always the better option for people. Sometimes wills are the best. They're going to do everything we need in that situation. But trusts give us more options, a little more control. It's kind of like a Swiss Army knife. There's a lot of stuff we can do with a trust. But if I'm meeting with someone that's only going to use one of the attachments to the Swiss Army knife that is a trust, then maybe the will's fine.
Okay.
So a will is a really good, solid document. Trust just gives us a little more control and brings in some other factors. And that's where an attorney can help identify those and show you what each document can or cannot do for you. Now, we talked about fiduciary before the break. A fiduciary is a person who is helping you with finances, stepping into that role. They're responsible to you and or the beneficiary. In a will, the person who is doing that is called a personal representative. In a trust, they're called a trustee. Very, very similar roles. They have different names for a reason, mainly because it helps us attorneys know what we're talking about. But they're the people who we'll talk about after death, who after death are stepping up and selling the house, initiating probate court if it's needed, making sure assets get where they need to go. If they're going into a trust for a child to be held until that individual is 25 years old, they're going to set up the trust for that person. They're going to make sure your final taxes get done, get your personal property where it needs to go or auction it off. Those types of things are what that personal representative or trustee are stepping up to do. And for the most part, they don't have any authority or control until you pass away, or in the case of a trust, if you're incapacitated. I'm not going to go much deeper than that because we're going to turn this into a law course if we get much more technical, but that's just kind of defining what those things are. One other common misconception that happens a lot, people think, well, if I have a will in place, I don't have to go through probate. And that's not true. What triggers probate in Minnesota is if a person passes away and they owned property, so a house or land, without anything done to make sure it avoids probate, right? And having a will isn't enough. So if they own property and or if there's assets that add up to more than $75,000 that aren't passing by beneficiary designation or joint ownership. So we'll use this example. Let's say I have a will. It says where I want my assets to go, who's in charge of settling my estate, all of that good stuff. But I have retirement accounts that have beneficiaries. My bank account has $10,000 in it. I have a used car, and I own a house that I paid off entirely worth $200,000. I die. That house is still going to have to go through probate court. And what probate court is it's a specialty court designed to pass assets after someone dies. Now, what's likely going to happen, because I have a will and everything, is it'll be an informal court process, probate court process, where the courts and the judge are making certain my house passes based on what my will says. But it's still a court proceeding. There's still fees, and it takes some time. The probate cases I've handled have almost always had a will. So I've been probating a will. And they usually take, if you're moving at a good clip, 10 to 12 months.
Really?
Yes. And part of that is the time it takes for things to be administered, to get the paperwork done, to get it in front of the registrar, to have it reviewed. it can take a lot of time, which time for a lot of people is also expense. Now, when I talk about this, I don't want to give off the impression that probate court's horrible and evil and should be avoided at all costs, because in some situations, we like probate court. We want a judge overseeing things. And in some situations, probate court is just a necessary annoyance. If I'm working with a young couple who just had their first child and they want to have a will to plan what happens for guardianship, maybe it doesn't make sense for them to invest in a trust, but a will is going to be great, and probate's just going to be an annoyance we have to deal with.
All right. Dan is cueing us out with music here. It's time for a short break. We'll be right back. Their conversation with Rachel Schroman, a estate planning and elder law attorney and owner of Schroman Law, LLC, located in St. Paul, Minnesota. And she's here talking about trusts versus wills. If you have a question, please give us a call, 952-946-6205, or text us at 612-999-3426. I'm Ken Haglund, and you are listening to Living Healthy and Aging Well.
Hi, this is Frank Brown, owner of Minuteman Press Uptown, Minnesota's only minority-owned union printing company. And I have big news. We've moved. Our new building in North Minneapolis is much larger with state-of-the-art equipment. That means we can get your projects done faster. We're on Washington Avenue North off I-94 at the Dowling exit, which allows for quick pickup and drop-off with plenty of free parking. And yes, we still print everything. I moved to MP Uptown because as a Black business owner, I want to be in North Minneapolis and help provide jobs. At MP Uptown, we pay above living wages, hire people who have made mistakes in the past, and believe in social justice. We have over 175 Google reviews with a 5-star rating. Let us handle your next print project, because when you support our business, you support the community. Call 612-870-0777 or visit mpuptown.com. That's mpuptown.com. We print everything.
This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, weekdays at 5 p.m. On our show, you'll hear about Native issues like treaties, protecting Mother Earth, and holding our elected officials accountable. Weekly correspondents like Dr. Stately, State Senator Mary Kunesh, Robert Lilligren, and Bob Blake update us with the latest news from Turtle Island. Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues. Listen weekdays at 5 p.m. or watch the show on Native Roots Radio social media accounts. Ho-wah!
Hi, everyone. I'm Andy Otto with Twin Cities Pride Amplified, inviting you to join us this Saturday at 3 p.m., where we'll be discussing the 2024 Minnesota legislative session with Kat Rohn, the executive director of Outfront Minnesota. The legislative session is just a few weeks away, so it's the perfect time to talk about the upcoming bills and how you can get involved. So join us Saturday at 3 right here on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
With 2024 here, reserve space for your gathering, either for family, friends, work, or belated holiday get-together at the Park Tavern. The Park Tavern offers private and semi-private party spaces like their party room, the atrium, the 11th frame, and their bowling lanes, and they can accommodate any size party, large or small. They have bowling, food, and beverage packages for any budget, and they're ready to help you every step of the way, making your job fun and easy. For more information or to schedule your event, call 952-929-6810 or go to parktavern.net. Getting the party started is easy with help from the Park Tavern.
Whether you rent or own a home, we all likely have nightmare stories about home maintenance, or what I like to call home cringe moments. Join me, your host, Katie Shahan, for the Yarlow Home Cringe Show. See what home cringe-worthy stories we have for you each week as we talk with local home service pros. Learn best practices for winterizing your home or what to look for after a hailstorm. Listen to the Yarlow Home Cringe Show every Sunday at 2 p.m. or on your favorite podcast app.
With your AM 950 weather, this is Dan Riva. Today, blusterly snow, high 9 degrees, wind chill minus 17. Tonight, blusterly cloudy, low minus 8 degrees, wind chill minus 28. Tomorrow, sun and cold, high minus 4 degrees. Nightingale, your cozy neighborhood destination, serves delicious food and a wide drink and cocktail selection. Includes American classics like the famous Nightingale Burger at nightingalempls.com.
AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Welcome back, folks. You are listening to Living Healthy and Aging Well, where we talk about helping you and your loved ones improve and enjoy your quality of life. My name is Ken Haglund, and joining me today is Rachel Schroman, an estate planning and elder law attorney and owner of Schroman Law, LLC, located in St. Paul, Minnesota. She is here today talking about trusts versus wills, and the benefits of avoiding probate, and the multiple ways legal advice can help determine the most efficient and cost-effective methods. But before we return to our conversation with Rachel, I want to mention the radio show today is brought to you in part by Minnesota Hospice. Minnesota Hospice is an independent, locally owned medical practice serving our Twin Cities communities with comprehensive end-of-life healthcare. The team at Minnesota Hospice provides patients and family members with award-winning end-of-life healthcare services. You may not be aware that hospice brings compassionate medical, social, emotional, and spiritual services to your home with typically no cost to you or your family. Please do not wait to learn how hospice care can benefit you and your loved ones. If you have any questions regarding end-of-life care or support, please contact the compassionate team of experts at Minnesota Hospice. They are available to answer your questions 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Their phone number is 952-898-1022. Once again, 952-898-1022, or visit them online at minnesotahospice.com. All right, let's return to our conversation with Rachel. If you have a question for us, please give us a call, 952-946-6205, or text us at 612-999-3426. Rachel, how can our listeners contact you if they have questions or want more information?
Anyone can reach out through our website, schromenlaw.com. That's SCHROMEN law.com, or call our office at 651-571-2515.
All right. And last segment, we were talking about terms and what things what things are called, and it can get very complicated. And like you say, there's definitions for all these terms to really help you guys out as attorneys. Make sure you're understanding what's going on here. But I do want to mention that it can be complicated, and every person's situation is different. And a couple things. One is that initial consultations with you are free.
Correct.
So there's no reason why someone shouldn't set up a time with you to go through, and you'll do them video or virtual, on the phone, in person. Is that
we do them at our office in St. Paul or virtually.
Okay.
I'll also mention, I'm glad this popped in my mind, we're now doing free quarterly seminars.
Oh, that's
And
right.
today is just kind of a taste. I mean, honestly, what we just talked about, very similar to the seminar information. So Melissa Miroslavich, the other attorney at our firm, she's doing quarterly seminars that are open to the public. They're free, and it's Estate Planning 101. And that really, it's a full hour of really, really great legal advice on this topic. Some are on Zoom, some are in person. So you're welcome to visit our website and register for those. Everything's posted under our events page.
I see the next one coming up is January 30th,
Mhm.
and it's from 12 to 1 on Zoom.
That's right.
Very nice. And it's Estate Planning 101, which is really what we're trying to talk
Yeah.
about here, to get people to be aware. Just like with advanced directives, as we talked about last time you were on the show, people for some reason just avoid doing those things. And I'll tell you, in our business at End of Life Care, the families are so grateful when they have things in place to know the wishes of the person who is either dying or, in your case, has passed. Is a gift. It's one of the most precious gifts that you can give to your heirs or your family or your loved ones, is lay it out. What do you want to have done? Boy, in fact, I'll say some of my staff were brought into a contested will. And, we had to go to the Dakota County Court
Yeah.
and sit and listen to this as both sides are arguing
Yeah.
what the disposition of this, and it was a significant asset that they were being contested. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, this is going to go on. And of course, they needed us just to say, we were taking care of the person, and were they cognizant and all these kind of things.
Yeah.
It was just not what you wanted to see have happen. I'm sure the person, who has passed was not wanting that to happen either. I mean, they'd want to have their plan executed or continued on. So anyway, that's why it's so important to do that. And so the questions we had, one of the questions that came up last time you were here was, well, why do I need an attorney if I can fill out all these forms online and just do it for $19 or whatever the online cost was, or if it was free? And we should talk about why it's important to seek, especially within the state that you live in,
right?
Because these forms don't apply to every state.
That's exactly right. And I'll share just what I've seen of the online forms. I have had people come into my office with documents they've done online, and they say, "Oh, we did these years ago, but now we have the time and the resources to update." Some of them were done under other states' laws. Some weren't filled out correctly. They weren't signed correctly. So basically, you have individuals who for 10, 15, 20 years thought they had a document in place, but it wouldn't have been recognized at the time they passed in Minnesota. And another example I give a lot actually speaks to my own experience. So we talked about this a little over the break, Ken. I went to law school. I was an elder justice scholar. I focused my studies on estate planning. And when I came out of law school and I was a new attorney, everything I drafted was getting reviewed by an older attorney, a mentor, because I was learning. And I drafted my first basic will. It was a guy in his 30s, single, no kids. I mean, that's about as straightforward of a will as you can get. And I finished it, and I kind of sat back and went, "Oh, well, geez, that was easy." Gave it to my the person overseeing me and thought, "Those give me a gold star." Right? Yeah. And it came back with a lot of red on it. And the reason was, you don't know what you don't know. And some of the verbiage, it can be so deceivingly easy or simple looking. And with legal documents, it is wild how little things can make it unclear, and it needs to be clarified, or it can mean something you don't mean. And, that was a lot as an early attorney. I mean, it made me scared. Yeah, it was an eye opener. And I went, oh gosh, you don't know what you don't know. And that's the importance of, having people overlook your stuff, having colleagues you can talk to, having multiple attorneys in a firm. But if I had just thought, after all that I've gone through and all the education as a licensed attorney, am still learning and can make mistakes on these forms, and I thought it was simple, some of these online things are so deceivingly simple looking, and I see really serious mistakes being made. Now, when people choose not to get wills, sometimes it is cost prohibitive to work with an attorney. These documents can be an investment. What I will say is, one, there's attorneys all over the Twin Cities that charge different rates. Our law firm's middle of the road, maybe middle lower, but we're not the cheapest law firm, and we're absolutely not the most expensive. So call around, ask what law firms charge. If they won't tell you on an initial phone call what they generally charge, I found that can be a little bit of a sign. Maybe you call the next place.
Right.
There's also legal clinics. There's free resources. There's cancer legal care for people who are, going through cancer. So there can be resources to get help and support. You may just have to do a little legwork to find them. And people are always welcome to call our firm too, and we can help point them in the right direction as well.
One of the questions that has come up from the listeners is it on an hourly basis, or is it on a form basis, or how because they've never done this before.
Yeah.
So they just have no idea. I mean, they're used to, having an auto mechanic fix their brakes, and it's $200 for the brakes or whatever it is. How does it typically work in the law field with estate planning?
Depends on the attorney. Some firms will do hourly. Some do flat fee. At our firm, for most of the part, we do flat fee. What I've found is it allows for more conversation. Clients are more likely to ask questions, set up a meeting to walk through the documents, really make sure they understand them if they're not getting charged for every 6 minutes.
Right.
They're taking up an attorney's time. But sometimes if we have really, really, really complicated, we might still do an hourly. But you can find either or, and different people for different reasons are comfortable with one or the other.
Mhm.
So there's options out there.
Right. One of the questions that we had was, what's the difference of a tax attorney versus an elder law attorney when it
Mhm.
comes to the estate planning side? How are they different, and how do they work together?
Well, so like estate planning, so I'm not a tax attorney. I don't
Right.
do legal tax work. As an estate planning attorney and an elder law attorney, I'm aware of tax implications.
Mhm.
I can plan for estate tax. I can advise around what might come up or what questions should be asked. But I work with people's accountants or CPAs pretty closely. So if I'm advising around, there might be this is the estate tax in Minnesota, this might be subject to estate tax. I'm not necessarily the professional that's going to do the math and give it to you.
Right.
There are attorneys who are also CPAs. There's attorneys who are also CFPs. So
Sure.
they specialize
Investments.
in tax or
Yeah.
investments. And there's attorneys that do estate planning and tax law.
Mm.
So, I mean, I grew up in kind of rural Iowa. The nice thing about the Twin Cities is, man, you have a lot at your fingertips. So does every estate need an estate planner that also does tax law? Absolutely not, because tax isn't always a consideration that's coming up. So, I have, I don't have an estate planning attorney. I am one, but I have a business attorney.
Mhm.
I also have an accountant and a CPA, and I also have a financial planner. I like having a team of professionals who are very, very focused on one thing.
Yeah.
And sometimes they talk to each other without me.
Right.
And they each bring their expertise and their lens.
Okay.
And I do that a lot with clients. Mhm.
Okay. So you have a network of people that you
Yeah.
can refer if people don't have one of those.
Yes.
You can refer them to
Absolutely.
these people, and then
Mhm.
and these folks work closely with you. They know you.
Yep.
And so it's nice to have that collaboration
Yeah.
with these things, because sometimes, like you say, people have different reasons. Some want the
Mhm.
privacy issues to not have things go public in a probate
Yep.
environment, and that's a whole nother topic. And also, there are important considerations for estate planning, so that mistakes aren't made where it causes a big tax bill
Mhm.
at death, and that negatively impacts the heirs potentially. So
Right.
it's really important to have somebody who specializes in that. All right. Boy, that was a fast segment here. We're at the end of the third segment. It's time for a short break, folks. We'll be right back to continue our conversation with Rachel Schroman, an estate planning and elder law attorney, and just a great person. And she's also the owner of Schroman Law, LLC, located in St. Paul, Minnesota. And she is here today to talk about trusts versus wills, and it's really trusts and wills, and the benefits of avoiding probate, and the multiple ways legal advice can help determine the most efficient and cost-effective methods. If you have a question for us, please give us a call, 952-946-6205, or text us at 612-999-3426. I'm Ken Hageland, and you are listening to Living Healthy and Aging Well.
End-of-life decisions are not easy to make. Hi, I'm Mary T. of Mary T. Hospice Care. It's important to make sure that this difficult time is meaningful and comforting to you and your loved ones. Our hospice team provides an individualized program of physical, emotional, spiritual, and practical care so your loved one is comfortable and not in pain. At Mary T. Hospice, we understand that choosing the right hospice care provider can be overwhelming, but we're here to assist you. Learn more today at marytinc.com.
Peace of mind shouldn't cost a fortune. We keep things simple at Schroman Law because we believe planning for your estate and end-of-life care shouldn't be stressful or expensive. Every client relationship starts with a free consultation, so clients have the information they need before making important decisions. From there, we work closely with clients to ensure they are choosing the most efficient and cost-effective plans for their specific needs. Schedule a free consultation today at schromenlaw.com. That's SCHROMEN law.com.
Hey, this is Ellie Krug with Ellie 2.0 Radio. Did you know that we've been doing this show for 6 years on AM 950? And it's one of the only, I think it may be the only show about idealism in all of Radioland. And now the show's at 4 o'clock on Saturdays and still from 1 to 2 on Sundays. It'll be part of a new concept, a series of LGBTQ hosted shows and podcasts. Make sure to check it out.
The Senior Linkage Line is a free statewide service of the Minnesota Board on Aging, helping older Minnesotans and caregivers find answers and connect to services and supports. Questions about Medicare, transportation, looking to move to senior housing, overwhelmed with prescription drug plans? Call the Senior Linkage Line at 800-333-2433 or visit trellisconnects.org, where we help people optimize well-being as they age. That's trellisconnects.org.
Hi, I'm Kelly Kirk.
I'm Chad Larson.
And I'm Joe Kirk.
Your hosts for Searching for Service. Tune in to Rotary's influential show and podcast, sharing touching stories of service locally and abroad.
We bring you weekly guests that connect, inform, and inspire our listeners on all things service.
We highlight diverse service opportunities that appeal to both Rotarians and people driven to serve in their communities.
Tune in Sundays at 3 p.m. or anytime via podcast. It's time
to stop searching
and start serving.
1 year ago, I was in the accident which nearly killed me. The last year has been a lot of work recovering, and positivity has been a key. Staying positive, I no longer refer to the accident as an accident, but rather the day my Toyota Sienna from Rudy Luther Toyota saved my life. That's a factual statement, and the main reason why I'll always own one for the rest of my life. Some places will talk about auto safety, but I'm a living example of why you and your family can trust a Toyota from Rudy Luther Toyota. Go test drive one today and try the hybrids. They're fantastic. Rudy Luther Toyota on 394 in Golden Valley.
All right, welcome back. You are listening to Living Healthy and Aging Well, where we talk about helping you and your loved ones improve and enjoy your quality of life. My name is Ken Haglund, and joining me today is Rachel Schromen, an estate planning and elder law attorney and owner of Schromen Law, LLC, located in St. Paul, Minnesota. She is here today to talk about trusts and wills and trusts versus wills, and the benefits of avoiding probate, and the multiple ways legal advice can help determine the most efficient and cost-effective methods to really get your wishes the way you want them to be at your passing. If you have a question for us, this is the last segment, folks. Please give us a call, 952-946-6205, or text us at 612-999-3426. Rachel, how can our listeners contact you if they have questions or want more information?
Our office can be contacted through our website, schromenlaw.com. That's SCHROMEN law.com, or by calling us directly at 651-571-2515.
All right. And I just want to make sure and highlight the fact that you guys are really big about getting information to the community. You're big community supporters. You're big advocate of hospice. I really appreciate that. But you do have a webinar coming up here on January 30th from noon to 1. It's a Zoom webinar. And so people need to just log into your website, go to events, and hit that register for the January webinar, and they're ready to go. You also have February, March. You got all kinds of great resources and information here throughout the year.
Yeah.
And so just do that. Once they register, they'll get sent a link then? Is that how that works?
Yep. They'll get sent the information for the Zoom. They'll get a reminder, all of that.
Okay. All right. And you got blog posts on there. I love the fact that your blog posts really come about from real situations. You learn something or experience something with a client, and you go, oh, that's information that may be helpful to some other person. And it's amazing. I like this show.
Yeah.
It's amazing the things that people take away from the shows that you may not think would be that important, but it's important for them, for their situation. And that's why today was such a fun show I was looking forward to, because myself and my colleagues all deal with end of life. And
Mhm.
it's amazing how much our social work team gets involved with helping people with advanced directives and DNRs and DNIs and all the things that should have been taken care of maybe before this, but now's the time to do it because
Yeah.
time's of the essence.
Yep.
And so we jump into that. So so anyway, we have just a few minutes here. I want to continue to talk about some of these important issues with trusts. There's several types of trusts. So we were just talking in general, wills versus trusts.
Yes.
But there's special situations that require special type of trust too.
Correct.
I know one of my colleagues has a special needs child, and so they've created a trust
Yes.
just to help make sure that the needs of that person are taken care of.
Mhm.
Would you be able to talk about just the different types of trust?
Yeah.
So people don't know, okay, a trust is a trust. Well, it depends on
Yeah.
the type of trust.
Yes, yes. So most of the trusts we do, and when you hear someone say, I have a trust, a lot of times they're likely referring to what's called a revocable trust. Revocable meaning you can change it at any time. So I have a trust in place. My house is in my trust, and I'm the trustee while I'm alive. I have control to put assets in it, change the terms, sell my house still. I have complete control while I'm alive and can make my own decisions. So that when you hear someone say, well, I have a trust, we did a trust, that's probably what they're talking about. When it comes to situations where there's someone being planned for that has special needs, there's a couple types of trusts in Minnesota. One's called a supplemental needs trust. That is usually being set up because someone wants to put money in it for the benefit of a person with special needs or leave money to them, to provide for their care. In Minnesota, when we have what's called a special needs trust, that's actually usually created to take money of the special needs person themselves. So an example would be someone passes away, they haven't set up any sort of planning. The individual who's receiving benefits because of their disability receives an inheritance. A Band-Aid is to put it in a special needs trust. But if that person dies, the money in the special needs trust can be used to repay the government for the benefits. That doesn't happen when a supplemental needs trust is set up ahead of time. And then there's cabin trusts. Those are pretty popular in Minnesota. If you want to really have a plan in place as to how the cabin's going to pass to the family, how it can be used, etc. Cabin trust can be a great tool for that. And then there's irrevocable trusts. A lot of times those are used for tax purposes, maybe for long-term care planning purposes. But those are, you really, really want a lot of legal advice and hand-holding using those because they're irrevocable. So those are a big deal.
It's a one-way door.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And then there's charitable trusts. All sorts of different types of charitable trusts. Usually those are coming up to meet philanthropic intent or, again, with tax planning. There's even more than that, but we're going to get real specialized if we go any further.
But that's good, though, because when people ask me questions about trusts, they weren't aware that there's many different kinds. That's why, again, doing things online, it can be confusing to know, am I really working with the right form?
Yep.
And again, we got to make sure. That's why I tell people, do the form, then call Rachel.
Oh, yeah.
So that way, at least they already have a working knowledge of some of
yeah.
the questions that they're going to need to ask. But it's important to have somebody who is looking out for you in the state that you are in. I also want to mention that your initial consultations are free. I want to make sure people really are clear about that. Don't be shy. This is a time to just ask those questions. Share what their concerns are. Ask how much it's going to cost. I mean, get those things out there, and that way you can give them a good heads up as to where you kind of think things are going to be.
Yeah.
And again, I just think it keeps them from getting off track. I think sometimes people get off track on an area and they kind of get fixated on it, and they don't realize they're actually in the wrong sandbox. They've got to move over to the right one. And it's just so important. One of the questions I got, we've got, only a minute left here, but what someone said, well, can I disinherit or can I exclude people in my family from my will or from a trust?
Yeah.
And
pretty common. Yeah. I mean, every family that comes in, they have a lot of shame and they're embarrassed. And I say, you are far from the first person to have human dynamic in your
Right.
family.
Drama. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're far from the last. I will say, unfortunately, it comes up quite a bit. When done correctly, it can be effective, and there's a lot of different ways to do that planning tactfully and so on, and we provide support in dodoing that.
Well, you've got a great support team. I mean, you got,
Mhm.
I mean, people that help support emotionally and
Yep,
help
yeah.
with all kinds of things. I think that's
Yeah.
why people should, I would encourage them, don't think your situation is too different or too unusual or too
Mm-mm.
embarrassing.
Mm.
Just sit down with you
Yeah.
and your team, and because again, you've seen it all.
Yeah.
You know, so
Shoot, I've been through it all.
no, listen, we have all been through it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. No, so I mean, this is the most empathetic person you're ever going to meet. So again, thank you for being here.
Thank you for
All
having
right,
me.
we're nearing the end of the show, folks. I want to thank Rachel Schroman, the estate planning and elder law attorney for the show and owner of Schroman Law LLC, located in St. Paul, Minnesota, for being here today. And it was great conversation. How do we get a hold of you, Rachel, for more questions?
You can visit our website, schromanlaw.com, or call us at 651-571-2515.
All right. We enjoyed you listening to the show today, folks. Call us or text us at 612-999-3426. Join us again next Saturday at noon for another broadcast. And thank you for listening to Living Healthy and Aging Well, where we talk about your health and your life. Until next time, please choose to live well.
The AM 950 2024 calendar is still available, and it's not too late to get yours, featuring photos I took around Minnesota and important progressive dates. Members that sign up for a one-time $25 membership will receive a 2024 AM 950 calendar as a thank you gift. Make a one-time $50 or $100 donation. You'll get the AM 950 calendar and a brand new AM 950 tote bag as a thank you. Go to am950radio.com for the details on the membership. That's am950radio.com. Thanks to everyone who's already received their calendar, and thank you so much for supporting AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
I'm the host of Exploring Sovereignty with Elizabeth. In this radio show and podcast, we have conversations with heart-centered thought leaders to explore their pathway to becoming free, and we will shine a light on what has been hidden, often in plain